and ubiquitous fungal infection. Chapter 16, Question 3. There are bacterial and viral infections in the respiratory tract. Fungal infections were known to be rare, but due to urban development, deforestation, and climate change, they are becoming more common because it makes it easier for people to come in contact with fungal pathogens. Weakened immunity in people who are older, people who have immune-related illnesses, and people taking immunosuppressive drugs after an organ transplant are also factors that increase the number of fungal diseases in people. There's endemic fungi. It only grows in specific geographical locations because they require certain climate and soil conditions to develop. There are 3 endemic fungi known. There are blastomycosis, coccidioidomycosis, and histoplasmosis. The blastomyces dermatitis causes a non-communicable lung infection. It is also known as the Chicago disease and Namekagon River fever. It is usually located in the central, southern, and northern United States. It is common in Mississippi and Ohio River valleys, Great Lakes region, and can be in parts of Canada by the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence region. Blastomycosis is a dimorphic fungus. It is able to exist in 2 distinct forms. It lives as a saprophyte, which is like a mold form that thrives on decomposing plant matter in moist soil. It produces conidiospores that become airborne and can be easily inhaled when soil is disturbed by digging, wood clearing, or construction. When it's inside the lungs, the spores can germinate into a unicellular yeast-like form that causes disease. Although it can be treated with drugs like fluconazole, itraconazole, ketoconazole, or amphotericin B, its mortality rates are up to 40% in immunocompromised patients. So coccidioidomycosis is a non-communicable lung disease that was first described in the late 1800s. It is caused by the fungus Coccidioides immitis and Coccidioides possidicea. C. immitis is native to the semi-arid soil of California's San Joaquin Valley, which is why it is known as a valley fever. C. possidicea mainly grows in the dry soil of southern United States, northern Mexico, and Central and South America. C. immitis and C. possidicea are dimorphic that grow as molds that make arthroconidiospores that spread with the dry winds common to arid climates. Once it is in the lungs, arthroconidia change form and develop into spirals, which are multinucleated structures that will produce endospores. The fungal endospores are morphologically and physiologically distinct from bacterial endospores. Then they are released into the lung tissue when spherules rupture. Histoplasmosis, they are also called Darling's disease, Cave's disease, Spelunker's lung, and Ohio Valley disease. It mainly grows in soil enriched with bat and bird droppings. H. capsulatum is found in many parts of the world, but is abundant in Mississippi and Ohio River valleys. In solid, the fungus grows as a mold that produces macroconidia and macroconidia spores. These spores become airborne when dust or soil containing fungus is disturbed. If inhaled into lungs, spores germinate into the pathogenic yeast-like form. Exposure to the fungus is largely occupational, with those who are poultry farmers and people who harvest guano from caves for fertilizers. Anyone can get histoplasmosis, but immunocompromised patients are more likely to develop the dangerous dismantled form, which occurs when the fungus spreads from the lungs to other parts of the body. There's ubiquitous fungi. It grows in various climates and under diverse conditions. Some can even be common members of the normal flora of the human body. There are aspergillosis, mucormycosis, and pneumocystis pneumonia. So aspergillosis, they are a common soil fungus throughout the world. It makes spores that are inhaled every day. There are 5 forms of invasive aspergillosis, but the most common are pulmonary, which are in the lungs, and rhinocerebral, which are in the brain sinus, forms being the most common. Invasive aspergillosis is seen in immunocompromised patients, especially among organ transplant patients, patients that undergo chemotherapy for cancer, and people on high doses of corticosteroids. Mucormycosis is found in soil that is enriched with rotting wood material. There are several fungi that can cause the disease. However, most infections are associated with inhaling spores made by Rhizopus oryzes. The most common are the pulmonary and rhinocerebral form again. It is rare in the United States, which are fewer than 2 people per million can develop the illness. Pneumocystis pneumonia is a fungal infection seen in immunocompromised patients. It is rare for a person with a healthy immune system to develop it. The fungus Pneumocystis jirovecii causes PCP. It is not native to soil and it does not make spores. The natural reservoir is not 100% known, but it is thought that the asymptomatic human carriers may transmit the fungus. About 9% of hospitalized HIV patients and about 1% of solid organ transplant patients develop PCP. Untreated cases are typically fatal, and up to 40% of treated cases are fatal. And my source was the Pearson book, chapter 16, in pages 494 to 498.